Hey there, Ottawa. Welcome to the 25th Hour. I'm Taylor Blewett.
And I'm Lindsay Armstrong. And on today's show, we bring you portraits from your community, people who bring meaning and passion to their work.
We'll meet a printmaker keeping his craft alive, a Buddhist monk spreading his message of peace, and a boutique owner giving back to people a world away.
But first, let's talk about your Ottawa Senators. The team is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, so you might think you already know all there is to know about the Sens.
But chances are you haven't heard of Dr. Bill Henry. In a sport where players see the gaps in their grins as badges of honor, Henry has one of the most unusual jobs in hockey. He's worked behind the scenes for more than 2 decades, stitching up mouths and tending to knocked out teeth. Senators put their trust and their teeth in his hands. This is the untold story of the Sens' toothless fairy, Dr. Bill Henry.
It's so traumatic, and it's nothing simple. It's always right down to the bone, or it's wide open, and it requires just something that you don't see in ordinary dentistry. My name is Bill Henry. I'm a practicing dentist in Canada, and for the last 25 years I've had the good fortune of being the team dentist for the Ottawa Senators. There's been some situations where the player will come off, he needs quite a bit of extensive treatment, and it's either do the treatment and save your teeth, or you're going to lose your teeth and get back out there. Well, they will select, I'll lose my teeth as long as I can get back out there. The people you work with, the physicians, Dr. Chow and Dr. Aubry, they're the greatest guys in the world. We have so much fun, and it's just lots of laughs. Between the peanut vendor and the security guards and of course the physicians I chum with there, we have so much fun. And when we have to work, we have to work. We all sit together. We're right beside the bench. We're 2 rows up from the home team's bench, and there's an access area where we can get down into the tunnel, so that it would just take a millisecond to jump out of your seat and get down there. And quite often we're needed. This is a little memorabilia here we have in our bag. It's dated May 4th, 2013. And that was around the time when Ottawa was playing Montreal in the playoffs. And Craig Anderson had his mask on not as tight as it should be, or strapped a certain way, he tells me. And a puck hit the mask and knocked out this tooth and damaged several other teeth. Anyway, it doesn't happen very often that goalies are injured, dental-wise. But as a matter of fact, on the team, they're in the Dentistry Hall of Fame for having the best teeth around the league.
Shot in the face. Shot in the face. Did that rattle you? Yeah, that's what it's from, right? There you go. Enough said.
And by far, every year, it's always high sticks that cause problems. J.G. Pajot, during the playoffs, he scored a goal against Montreal in Ottawa here, and he was high stick by Subban, and it knocked his tooth right on the ice. And after he scored the goal on a breakaway, he went and picked up the tooth, and I didn't realize this, but he continued playing for a few more minutes. Between periods, he came in, and we had the opportunity to clean the tooth off, replant it in the socket, and he had that option, and we'd have to splint it, and he said no. He says, I'm going to lose the tooth, and he had 3 or 4 other teeth that were broken as well, and he wanted to play that last period. The adrenaline is so high in their bodies that they could care less. Matter of fact, they don't even feel pain a lot of the times. It's sort of trauma anesthesia to begin with, and then it's their desire to get back out on the ice. But nothing simple when it comes to injuries in dentistry. Things are moving so fast. The players move quickly. The puck, the stick, everything is so fast that it causes all kinds of damage where people are not protected. Even if it's the opposition, you hate to see people get hurt, and some of them are extremely nasty and can be career-ending, actually, some of them. If it's a puck, a deflection, it's huge trauma, huge trauma. Quite often I've seen situations where puck, even sticks for that matter, where you could put 3 or 4 fingers through that we would have to suture from the inside, outside, and then look after the teeth as well. It's just a journeyman's game, and they're all gladiators. 25 years, it seems like it's gone by like that. Anyone came up to me and said, well, I'm going to have my brother's daughter's son, who's a dentist, look after the team, I would shake their hand and say thank you very much, because the past 25 years have been nothing but lots of fun.
From the Canadian Tire Centre out in Canada, we jump now to the city's East End. Here to take us there is my co-host, Halima Shobasan.
Thanks, Taylor. Our next story focuses on one man working to keep an art form alive in Ottawa. Stephen Quick is a printmaker. He creates vintage-style prints using manual presses and traditional methods. He's committed to his craft, getting behind presses 7 days a week. The 25th hour caught up with Quick at his studio in Orleans.
My name's Steve Quick. I'm a letterpress printer is probably what I like to call myself. I'm a book artist, a letterpress printer. The term I throw around is a neo-Luddite. I'm a person who's trying to keep alive some of the old crafts and skills. And for the last 10 years, I've been from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. 7 days a week, I always have something to do. A typical day for me would be, I spend usually 2 days preparing to do printing. So it's either setting up the type or doing the illustrations, whatever it happens to be. 1 day to print, and then with everything else, I have to clean up. So I've got to put information away. I got to put the type away in the cases, or I've got to clean the presses or whatever. Every printer is different. Letterpress printing is there's 2 parts of it. There's the art aspect of it, and then there's the craft aspect of it. I see myself more as a craftsman. It's the mechanics of putting it all together that I really, really enjoy. Once the fall rolls around, October and November, we spend the time putting together what we call our Christmas keepsake. We print 125 hand-bound books that we give out to friends and family. By the 24th, hopefully, of November, we get them in the mail, and that's our Christmas card. So my mom and my paperboy get exactly the same Christmas present every year. When you get a Christmas card, you might put it on your mantelpiece. Once January rolls around, into the recycle bin it goes and it's never seen again. People don't throw away a book. At a certain point, you've got to let the material go. I have produced things with horrible, horrible typos in them, and because I quite often don't notice the typo until like 10 copies from the end of a run. There's a glaring typographical error in the middle of it. But as somebody once said to me, if God is perfect you know, the rest of us were allowed to have mistakes. So quite often a lot of my stuff has, I let mistakes go. You look at every copy when it comes off. You're making sure that the inking is correct, that there's no problems with the way you've got the press set up. But it's just, you know, the feel of the paper when it comes off is really the rewarding part. I'm trying to preserve it. As long as there's equipment available, I think people will still be doing letterpress printing. And at a certain point, I'm going to be passing on my equipment on to somebody else because they don't make this equipment anymore. So as long as I maintain it, and I'll pass it on to somebody else.
Winterlude is in full swing, and for many people in Ottawa, that means finally getting outdoors. Mark Walter is drawn to nature too. He's an environmental artist based in Wakefield, Quebec. Using branches and pine cones, twigs and twine, he builds elaborate and intricate art projects. They call on us to reflect about our relationship with the natural world and with each other.
My art is a lot about pausing, slowing yourself down. It's an opportunity to think about who you are and why and how you act. And it's so important in life to pause. When I create, it's almost like a meditation. It's a lot about where you are at and where you want to go next, or where you've been and how you want to improve that, you know. So it's a lot about that. For several years I was working as a consultant, and it was stressful in that way that like you had to wear a costume, and I hated that aspect because it was so regimented and people would judge you on what you looked and not what you were doing. Like every morning you'd get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, sometimes a bit earlier, and then you would go on the job. But it was not a passion. It was interesting, but not a passion. And that's probably why I left this type of jobs later on. I never thought ever that I would be able to be a visual artist, like a professional one. The values that I care for are there is respect of the environment, respect of the others. I like to be able to feel the world and being able to mold the world to make my dreams happen and share them to people. That's what I like. Nature carries me as a human. It's the closest to the skin that makes my body, you know, like we are made of water. When you're in nature, you can smell, you can touch so many different things, you can feel the air, even though like you feel almost an energy in nature that you don't get in cities in a different ways, through the combination of, you know, like the rough texture of the bark, the wind that's blowing and making noise through the leaves, the light that is coming through the trunks of the forest and lighting specific areas. All those combinations of those items in nature make it like so new every day. It helps you to connect with what allows us to live. The air, the light, and the water. It's being part of the cycle of life and death again. I'm like everybody else. I like to feel that I can affect people. It's very presumptuous to think that you change people, that that you have this ability. People come regularly to say like, yeah, I remember doing something with you, or seeing something that you've done with me, or I've seen your pieces and I was touched by it. I love that because it means that I've touched somebody, and then like that person can touch me in return. That's what I'm hoping for. And also it's like, it makes me cry. It's like, just because it's very deep, because I really believe that those connections have to happen in order to improve the world that we are in. My art is one way that I feel I can use to change the way people feel, and indirectly I'm hoping to change the world a little bit through that. That's my hope.
Making the world a better place is a lofty goal, but it's one that Emma Inns has committed herself to.
Inns is the owner of the Adore It boutique in Ottawa's Byward Market. The tiny shop is filled with handmade and fair trade products from India, Tibet, and Nepal, like this Tibetan finger puppet. Having traveled extensively in that region, she hopes her boutique can help the people she's met a world away.
When I was little, all I knew that I wanted to do in my life was go to India. So I just had that as my goal. And in high school, I worked and put money aside, so that when I was done school, I went to India and Nepal by myself for 1.5 years. And that's what changed my life. And it made me realize that I wanted to spend time in Asia, and I wanted to make travel a big part of my life. Tibet for me really changed my life because of the people, and the people that I met there really affected me when they told me their stories. The more time I spent in Tibet, the more I wanted to help and do my part to try and make a difference for those people. So what I decided to do was take the money that I was making and reinvest it in those communities. So I set up microfinance programs to help with poverty. We invest small amounts of money with 0 interest. The difference that I kind of add to it, because I was living with the people, is that we would provide skills as well. So if people wanted to get involved in the program but they didn't know how to sew or didn't have the skill set that we required, we would help them gain that. And then if I know how to sew, I don't know how to woodwork and make the silversmith. So we would bring in skilled artisans to the different communities to teach the people. And then the programs have grown from there. So now we employ 3 communities and 120 people. So the Tibetan microfinance, we sell I design the stuff, it's made there, and then we sell it here in the shop. A very small amount of money is made for the store by that, but it's kind of my heart program. So this is one of the examples. So this is a little snow lion puppet. It's made with felt. So Tibetan women, when they get married, they wear an apron that's felted. And so we've taken that traditional craft and changed it, tweaked it to make it marketable here. So then we made these little finger puppets. And then we have a little write-up about the person who made it and their life story. With the microfinance, it's really changed people's lives. It's given them an opportunity to, they're nomadic, so often they're buying more livestock. But at the beginning, we made mistakes that these people went from kind of just scraping by to having a disposable income. And one day I was with a group and we saw a yak carrying a giant TV. And I realized there that if we don't go to these communities and work with them and say, okay, these are sustainable ways to spend this money, then that's going to happen more. So we went back and then did some education about, this is a sustainable income, but it's not going to be forever. So you need to, use this money in positive ways and reinvest. Some of the families that we work with, one of them is the Chule family, and this family has gone from really scraping by to having 50 yaks, which is considered to be a very healthy number of yaks. Tibetans live their life based on compassion and kindness, and that is also what kind of affected me the most. Is I'd never really met people that based their lives on these positive things, and I try to live my life the same way.
Many people in our community are reeling from difficult and tragic events, both around the world and closer to home.
And these days, it might seem harder than ever to make sense of them all. But one Ottawa man is sharing his message of perseverance and hope.
Tan No is a Buddhist monk. He teaches meditation to his followers so they can work through their challenges and find peace. No believes his philosophy can help others the same way it helped him overcome hardship in his life.
Thế tôn đức tương nan tận tán dương tư thời chư đệ tử chúng đặng phụng Phật tu hương phụng kinh.
My name is Tan.
Hủy nhật bạch nhật các thánh trai tuần. Kim tăng chủ thị quân cặp đặng đặng chư gia quyến tâm thành khẩu bái đại giác từ tôn. Phù thủy chiêu giam phong quang tiếp độ phục vị hương linh hứa sẹt. Sinh ngày 3 tháng 4 năm 1955.
As soon as I get out of my mom's womb, the first thing I hear is a bomb. We grow up in a poor environment. So, after that, my mom, in order, she wanted me to not to involve in the war, she sent me to the Buddhist temple to become a Buddhist monk, and where I learned things from the monastery. And then I dreamed one day, I will finish my university. That's my mom always told me, as a boy, you have to have a university. When my mom was in jail, I remember I lived with my aunt, who's abused me badly. She beat me up every day, and for almost the whole month I lived in the toilet, in the outhouse, poo all over the place, very smelling, very bad. And then I was so hungry, and the water people used to flush, eventually I had to drink that because I was so thirsty. In Vietnam, there's a war between North and South, civil war. That's why I couldn't realize my dream. I joined the army, and as an officer in the army until 1975, when the communists from the north took over the south, and they put me in the concentration camp for 3 years, and I escaped from the country, escaped from the camp, and I come here, and I decided to go back to school and get my education. In order to be able to cope with things like that, and I strongly believe we should learn meditation. When I teach meditation, I teach people how to contact with the present moment. And meditation helps you to vent, to evaporate all the defilements, all the complex, all the suffering inside you. And then, because when you suffer, you cannot bring suffering, you cannot bring happiness to people. You tend to bring suffering to people. That's why you have to help yourself first. Meditation helped me a lot. Meditation helped me to look inward inside myself. So that meditation helped me to develop the compassion, develop love.
I'm here. She's the head of the kitchen group. Without her, we would be hungry. Very important. Treat her well.
At the temple, people usually come and looking for something like, praying to the Buddha and asking for something. For example, when they die, they will go to a Pure Land, for example, go to Nirvana, for example. And I always there to tell them, no, walk into Nirvana now. Once you have love and compassion, you will be able to help others. You will be able to forgive easily. It doesn't matter how bad, how badly people treat you. That's my experience, and that's not a theory. That's a practice. I cannot help with Donald Trump. It doesn't matter how strong I am in meditation, Or maybe I have to teach Trump how to meditate, so that he will deal with the world with compassion and with love.
Doves have long been a symbol of peace, but for Alain Laplante, they mean so much more. Laplante has spent the past 10 years of his life surrounded by doves. He runs a dove release business in Gatineau and cares for 150 of the white birds. I met with Alain to find out more about his love for doves.
My name is Alain Laplante. I'm from Gatineau, and this is my pigeon loft. My business is, the name is Les Envolées Blanches. In English is White Flight Dove Release. And my main business is to release birds for funerals, weddings, anniversaries, and also we do a lot of fundraisers for different events in the community. I started with around, I would say 15 birds. A neighbor asked me for his daughter's wedding. Normally I have around 100 birds, 100 birds. This year I bred more birds because I did a submission for the federal government for releasing 150 birds in front of Parliament Hill. So this year I'm not breeding any birds because I have too many birds. In the summertime I release the birds. They all fly in formation. It gives me peace, it relaxes me. I have special baths for them that they all bath together. I like the sound of them. I've been working 33 years for a hydro company. I'm retired now, but it doesn't give me the satisfaction and the pleasure to release birds. I feel I'm appreciated for what I am doing. I don't release the bird when the weather is heavy winds. I don't release the birds in the fog. I don't release the birds in the rain. The important thing for me is always give the fighting chance of the bird to come back home. I did a funeral one time and it was around 5 o'clock and it was getting dark around 6. So at 5:30, I was telling the family, so we have to release the birds now, and I have to release the birds now. They were still talking. When they were finished and they were releasing the bird, came to release the bird, it was 5:45. Well, I said, I cancel. I don't release the birds. So I could have released the birds and maybe lost 2 or 3 birds and still get my money. But for me, my ethical is that the birds, they never been released. If I'm not sure, I never release the birds. I was coming back from fishing and there was a head-on collision in front of me. So when I got to the car, I took a girl out of the car. I gave her CPR, mouth to mouth. The ambulance came, they took my place. So the next day I called the police of MRC La Colline, and I told them how was the girl that I gave help to, and she died. So I told the police that if the family wanted to see me, there was no problem. I could tell her because I was the first there. So the family, it's a bit tough to get there. So the family said yes, so I went to, it was in Ottawa, so I met the family. And I told the woman, I said, your daughter died, she didn't suffer, her eyes were open, there was no pain in her face. So I was leaving, and I told the mother, I says, I release white doves. I says, I'd like to offer that as, and she started to cry, and she was like very emotional and yelling, and I said, what did I say? And she said that she dreamt that there was a release of birds for her daughter for her funeral. So it was very touching. It's a small world. I think there's some kinds of connections that, you know, that happens with the birds that it's unexplainable. Vas-y. I mean, all right, vas-y. There you go.
Living amongst Ottawa residents is a Jedi master who goes by the name of Nick Provo. He does street acrobatics and he designs custom lightsabers. You don't have to look very far to see his love of Star Wars. He takes us with him on his journey to fight the dark side here on Earth.
As prideful as it sounds, I do consider myself a little bit of a Jedi Master. I'm Nick Provo. I'm 25 years old and I make lightsabers and also perform parkour shows. I try and really combine my passion for parkour and Star Wars. My love for Star Wars really changes my outlook on everything. I can really relate to the Jedis and their code. The three pillars of the Jedi Order are the Force, knowledge, and self-discipline. And I always, even in my parkour training, focus on self-discipline, and knowledge is something that's very important to me. A lot of times where I'm tempted to do some things such as like play games, which is not that bad, but instead I choose to spend my time and be productive and use self-discipline to work hard and become more the man that I want to be. It's just small things like making good decisions out of not emotion, but you know, out of logic and not out of anger. Sometimes when I'm angry and I want to do something out of angry motivation, so I use that anger to try and like get me to do a trick in parkour, and like, oh, I'm so mad, like I'm just gonna do this. I try and act like a Jedi and just calm myself down and just be like, no, Nick, like just do it peacefully. Like, don't need to let your anger win, because that's what we call in the Star Wars world the dark side and Sith. In the Star Wars universe, Jedi creates his own lightsaber. So to make a lightsaber, what I usually do is get a big blank piece of metal like this and put it in my metal lathe. And then what it does is it spins it on this axis, and with a piece that cuts the metal, I just shape it to however I want. And after that, what I usually do in my other lightsabers is I add more detail to it. So this one specifically, I etched it. And once I'm done that, I also like to sometimes add a crystal inside the lightsaber, which in the Star Wars universe powers the lightsaber. So this is most of my lightsaber collection. I have like maybe 3 or 4 that are not on here. This one was one of my favorites. Is the first one that I ever made, that I got the parts online, custom, and I picked them out and made the crystal inside like all by myself. And it was the first one that I ever made, so it's a little bit of a part of me in this one. For the lightsabers and why I sell them, it's more because I want to do what I love and make money from it. I wouldn't be able to work at a desk at all because, first of all, I wouldn't be sewing into my own dreams. I would be working on other people's plans, other people's dreams. I need to work for myself and build something like that I want to build my dreams rather than work on someone else's dreams. Star Wars is just important to me because I can relate to it and it actually affects my life in some ways. I know it sounds really silly because it's just a movie, and I do realize that. Oh, it's so dirty. But sometimes in times when I'm stressed, I just repeat the Jedi code, and the first line of it is, there is no emotion, there is peace. And when I'm angry or stressed, I just say to myself, there is no emotion, there is peace.
For many in the city, Winterlude means it's time to bundle up, lace up some skates, and enjoy a beaver tail on the Rideau Canal. But it seems not everyone in Ottawa is celebrating what the canal has to offer. An Ottawa Citizen columnist had some choice words for the world's largest skating rink, calling it overrated and overhyped. The 25th Hour's Peter Rukavina had some thoughts on the matter.
You don't need to live on Colonel By Drive to know there's a few kilometers of water that stretch from Mooney's Bay to the downtown. It's a canal. More importantly, the canal. .8 kilometers that every year turns into a skatable playground for Canadians and travelers alike to bear one of the country's most recognizable cultural icons. But hey, it's no big deal, right? Just ask Ottawa citizen columnist Tyler Dawson. This pen-to-pad buzzkill says it's overrated, overhyped, and good for little more than a first date. But hey, let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe a runny nose and some chapped lips got the best of him. And if you wanted to take someone out in a handheld skate last year, then he probably didn't get a chance to, because he points out that it was only available for 18 skatable days. So we're here on the canal to see what people really think and see if Dawson has a point. Do you think the canal is overrated, and why?
Overrated. Well, if you don't like going through the downtown and a beautiful strip with nature around you and fellow humanity and beautiful scenery, then I guess it's probably overrated.
I do not think the canal is overrated. You're in Canada's capital, you got to do something Canadian, and what better way to do it than get out and skate with friends or family and just be around everyone.
Sorry, Tyler. I guess if one bad year is really going to change your opinion on it, then it's not meant for you. But from what people think out here, the canal isn't overrated.
And that's our show for today.
We'll see you again in 4 short weeks.
Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.